Hello my dear friends, welcome to my channel. Friends, I hope that you all are enjoying in learning and programming with me. So in this particular video, I will demonstrate you about one of the very important concept that is required to develop a React application. So I would like to demonstrate you that how we can pass a value from parent component to a child component, and also from child component to a parent component. So let me first demonstrate you that how this particular application is working. So in our parent component, I have added one input field which is used to capture username, and I have also added one button here in our parent component. So if I am providing any value to our input field, then this particular button, that is click here, is getting enabled. And when I will click on this button, then I am opening a dialog box in child component. So whatever value which I will provide in this particular input field which is present in our parent component, then that particular value will be passed to our child component. So here you can see that this is our child component, and inside our child component we are showing a dialog box. And here you can see that whatever value which we have provided in our parent component is passed to our child component. Now let us try to update this username field. So now I have updated this username field which is present in our child component with value as Chetan Anand. And I have also added one close button in our dialog box which is present in our child component. And on a click of this button, what I am doing, I am passing this updated value of username which is present in our child component to a parent component. So let me press this close button. So friends, here you can see that our parent component field is also updated. Let me again try to update this field in our parent component. Let me click on this click here button. Then again you can see that we are getting the updated value in our child component. Now let me again change this value to Chetan in our child component. Let me close this child component dialog box. So here you can see that our child component value is passed to a parent component. So friends, you must be interested in knowing that how we can pass a value from parent component to a child component and from child component to a parent component. So now let us try to understand this very important concept which is being used in developing a real world application. So let me take you to Visual Studio, and in my Visual Studio I have created two components. First one is a parent component and second one is our child component. So friends, this is our parent component, and inside our parent component here I have defined an constructor, and inside our constructor I have initialized two fields for our state object. First one is a username field, and initially its value is empty, and the second field is open child. So this is the flag which we are using to show our child component. So initially its value is false. Now let me take you to the render method of our parent component. So here I am using this open child field to display or to render our child component. So initially its value was false, that is why we are not seeing our child component. So here on your screen you can see that we are having one input field, that is an username field, and initially its value is empty. So this field we are getting from this particular input field. So here you can see that we have provided an enter username as a placeholder for our input field. That is why we are getting this placeholder here. And if we are providing any value to our input field, then this value is getting binded to our username field. And how it is getting binded? By using this value attribute, and when we are changing the value, then we are calling an onChange event, and we are updating our state object inside our onChange event, that is handle input fields. And we are also having an button on our parent component, that is click here. So this button we are getting from this particular button field, and here you can see that I have provided and disabled property for our button. So when the username field is empty, then this button is disabled, and as soon as we are providing the value for our input field, then this button is getting enabled. So this functionality we have achieved by using this disabled property. Now for our button field, we are having an on click event. So when I am pressing this particular field, then we are simply updating our flag value to show the child component. So initially its value was empty, and as soon as I am clicking this particular button, then the value of this field is getting true, and when the value of this open child flag is true, then we are rendering our child component. That is why we are getting this child component dialog box. Now let us try to understand that how we are passing the value from the parent component to a child component. So we can pass the value from parent component to a child component by using attributes. So here I have defined an attribute with the name username, and we are passing this username field value which we have defined in our state object to our attribute, that is username. So whenever user will provide any value for this username state object, then this value we are passing to our child object by using this attribute. Now let us first see about our child component, and then we will see that how we are using this username attribute to get the value from our parent component. So this is the class for our child component, and inside our child component, here again inside our constructor, I have initialized our state object with two fields. First one is a child username, and second one is a flag which I am using to hide or show our dialog box inside our child component. So initially its value is true. Now here you can see that how I am providing the value for our child username field inside our child component. So here I am using this .props.username. So by using this props object, we are accessing the value of our username attribute. Let me explain you in simple term. So here I have provided an attribute, that is username, and I have provided some value to our username attribute, and I can access this particular value of username attribute by using this .props.username. So this is how we can pass the value from parent component to a child component by using attributes, and by using props we can access those attribute values inside our child component. Now let me take you to the render method of our child component. So this is the dialog box we are getting here, and how we are getting this dialog box by using this dialog component from our material UI. Now let me show you that how we are getting different fields in our dialog component. So on our dialog box we are getting this title. So this title we are getting by using this dialog title tag, and this is the content of our dialog box. So this is the content we are getting by using this dialog content tag, and inside our dialog content tag we have provided this username field and this input field, and we have binded this child username field to our input field. That is why whatever value we have assigned from our parent component to a child component, we are getting in our input field. And also for this input field we have provided an on change event. So in this on change event, what we are doing, we are simply updating our state object. So whenever I will update the value for our child component username field, then that value is updating in our state object by using this on change event. And my dear friends, in a dialog box we are also getting this close button. So this close button we are getting from this particular section. So this button I have defined inside our dialog action tag. Now my dear friends, let us discuss that how we can pass the value from our child component to our parent component. So for passing the value from the child component to a parent component, we need a callback method. So here when I am calling our child component, then I have defined an attribute for our callback method. So when we are calling our callback method from our child component, then it is calling this particular method, and in this particular method we are passing values from the child component to our parent component, and we are using these values, that is updated username and close child flag, to update our username field and open child field which we have defined inside our parent component. Now let us see that how we are calling this callback method inside our child component. So this is our close button of our child component, and when I am clicking on this close button, then it is calling this close dialog method. So here in this statement, I am updating the flag value of our state object to false, and this flag value we are using to show or hide our dialog box which we have defined inside our child component. And here in this particular statement we are calling our callback method. So this callback method attribute we have defined while calling our child attribute. So this child callback method is getting invoked from this close dialog event. So when I am pressing this close button, then it is calling this particular event, and then it is invoking this callback method. And here what we are doing, we are passing the updated value of our username field, that is a child username, and we are passing the flag value as false. So after execution of this particular statement, it is calling this particular method because this is the method which we have defined for our callback method. So we are getting this updated username field and this close child field, and we are using these values to update our state object fields, that is username and open child flag. So this is how we can pass the value from our parent component to child component, and from child component to our parent component. So my dear friends, I hope that you are able to understand that how simply we can pass the value from parent components to child component by using attributes and by using callback methods. And I would like to wish you all the very best for your learnings.